All right. Well, it's kind of been a minute. Got to it a busy week. Got to it a bit late, but whatever. Let's get after it. It's going to start off with just a quick recap. Not going to spend a lot of time on this past week's games, just because it's already Friday. Then we're going to jump into the week's matchups, picks I like, picks I don't like so much. Reasonings behind it. So first, man, this week was tough. Both the two most recent games both had bad beats. So I'm sure you guys know about it. I'm sure a lot of people had money on these games. But Eagles at Seahawks, that was the Sunday night game. Kind of a dull game. For as much talk there is about DK Metcalf, destroying Darius Slay. They only scored 19 points in that game. So maybe calm down a little bit. Or no, they scored 23 points in that game. My bad. They didn't exactly go off, the Seahawks. But they opened at like minus 5.5. So the final score ended up being 23-17. Seahawks opened at like minus 5.5. I liked that. They ended up shifting to minus 6.5 throughout the week. Still like that, but my bets were already kind of in, so I didn't really have those. But anyway, minus 6.5, that's where it lied. That's where most people had it. Then end of the game, Seahawks are up by 14. It's 23-9. In theory, the Eagles need 2 touchdowns, right? They're down by 14 points. They need a touchdown, kick the extra point, touchdown. Get an onside kick, touchdown, kick the extra point. For whatever reason, Carson Wentz has the ball, heaves a Hail Mary with like 10 seconds left. No time, not enough time to get like the onside and actually make anything happen. And it gets caught. It gets deflected and caught by Richard Rodgers in the end zone. So they get the touchdown. Boom. All of a sudden it's, 15 points, 15-point Eagles. So if they take the extra point, they're still down by 7, you still cover. For whatever reason, they decide to go for 2, which makes no sense. You should be going for 2 touchdowns, get the tie, win it in overtime. Instead, they decide to go for 2, because then if you get the 2-point conversion, then you can play to win, which I guess, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. You can always go for 2 on the next go. I don't know. It doesn't make a ton of sense, especially because this wasn't going to happen. There was not enough time for them to get the onside kick and do this again. It just wasn't going to happen. And they go for 2, so that takes it from 7-point deficit to a 5-point deficit, and ruins anyone who took the Seahawks minus 6.5. So that was rough. Just meaningless points at the end of the game to ruin a spread, and that was only a 6.5-point spread. Which, was that as bad as the Eagles looked? You should have felt good about, the Seahawks high-powered Russell Wilson offense. Should have felt good about it, but I don't know. That's what's got me going into this next week thinking, well, the Packers-Eagles, I'll talk about it later, but that's like a minus 8.5-point spread. Well, the Seahawks, yeah, it took some late stuff, but wacky stuff happens when the spreads get high. This is the NFL. So, do you really think the Seahawks are that much worse than the Packers, or what's going on here? But I'll get to that later. The other bad beat was Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh was dominant throughout the game, but just bad drops by the wide receivers throughout. I think Juju had 2, Deontay Johnson had 2, Chase Claypool had 1. It felt like a lot more. Just constant drops on third downs, killing drives. So Pittsburgh only scored 19 points, and Baltimore, and the spread was 10, I think. Yeah. Spread was minus 10. So. And without Lamar Jackson, without Mark Andrews, without their starting center, their backup center, a bunch of key defenders, I feel pretty good about Pittsburgh minus 10. I don't know if I bet too much on it. I just kind of stayed away. But Pittsburgh minus 10, I think, was the play. And Baltimore couldn't get anything done. They had RG3 trying to do his best. Lamar Jackson impression wasn't really quite working out. Wasn't as elusive, I think, running. A lot of runs to the boundary that, it's not like he was going to break one off. I never had the impression that RG3 was going to all of a sudden make a guy miss and then just, make a big play out of nothing. Instead, it was a lot of 8-yard, run to the boundary, which, kind of works, but didn't, obviously. But he ends up hurting his hamstring during the game, and Trace McSorley, the legend himself, comes in and throws a pass to Marquise Brown that Marquise Brown makes a guy miss and speeds into the end zone to score 7 points and cover. That took them. So the final score ended up being 14-19 in favor of Pittsburgh. Game really wasn't as close as that score reads. But Trace McSorley making sure the Ravens cover. That's I kind of hope they start him next week. We'll see what happens. But Lamar will probably be back. But I'd like to see Trace McSorley. I think he might be one of the better passers of their room. I'd like to see him kind of gunsling it out than watch Lamar or RG3 again. So we'll see what happens. Some other games, Chiefs, Tampa. This game pissed me off because I was pretty proud of my take. I thought with the way the Rams were able to beat Tampa Bay, the Chiefs were able to exploit Tampa Bay the same way. A lot of quick passes, relying on speedy wide receivers, taking advantage of those Tampa corners and not letting that Tampa defensive line beat you. And it started off that way. I mean, Tyreek Hill had 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. So I was feeling pretty good about it. I kind of switched the game off. Was kind of keeping an eye on it, but wasn't paying attention. The Chiefs were killing them in the first half. And they let Tampa Bay back in it at the end. And I still wasn't worried about it. I'm like, clearly the Chiefs are going to win. I was kind of keeping tabs on it. And the game finishes up 27-24. And like an hour goes by, I'm doing other things. And I realize, wait a minute. Tampa Bay covered 3.5, didn't they? And sure enough, I had Chiefs minus 3.5. And if you watched the first half of that game, you would have felt great about it. And somehow, some way, the Chiefs decided to stop scoring points and let Tampa back in it enough to where they covered that 3.5 point spread. Like, the game was never in jeopardy. But I just can't believe with the way they dominated that team out of the gate. I don't understand how Tampa was able to cover, and that really pissed me off. Another game, Raiders Falcons. This is one of those things where you just got to throw your hands up. I mean, the Raiders have been inconsistent at times, but like they've played really good football against good teams. So it's like they are like above average decent team, and then they go and Falcons are not a good team. The Falcons. They got a bad defense. Their running game sucks. They just have some elite offensive weapons, but I don't even think Julio played. And even in this game where they were just running away with it, just getting a huge blowout, they end up kicking 5 field goals because their offense is sputtering out, So I don't know what happened in this game. It finished up 6-43. I think Derek Carr had like 3 fumbles, and it just nothing went the Raiders' way, and they got blown out. But I don't think there's a whole lot you can take away. I don't think you can say, the Raiders suck, because there's still a body of evidence pointing to the contrary. And you can't say, the Falcons are back, because there's a lot of evidence pointing to the contrary. So I think that's just a weird outlier that happens in the NFL sometimes. And it's frustrating because that was like a tier 1 bet for me. I felt pretty confident in the Raiders stomping on them, but that's the way she goes. Game on the other side of it. This is a game I was avoiding because you never know what the 49ers can do. It was 49ers 23, Rams 20. I think people got a little too confident in the Rams and were sleeping on the 49ers a bit. Division game. Kyle Shanahan, I think, had a bye to prepare for this one. The 49ers are decimated by injury, but for some reason they still have a tough run-stopping defense and the creative enough offense to make things happen. And Nick Mullins has definitely struggled this year. Not as electric as I wanted him to be, but he's good enough to win a game now and again, that's for sure. So they ended up pulling off the upset, upsetting the Rams 23-20, and so people who got confident in the Rams definitely got burned. All right, jumping on to Week 13. So I'm going to start off with my Tier 1 bets. These are the bets I feel the best about. These are the ones I have no problem recommending to my friends and stuff, you guys watching. And I'm probably going to put decent money on as well. So first game I got Colts at Texans. The Colts are just a much better team than the Texans at this point, right? And the Colts have had a rough loss last week. Trying to remember when they played the Titans, but yeah, they had a rough loss last week against the Titans, I believe. Yeah. But that was just a game that got out of hand. Titans are a much better team than the Texans, and DeForest Buckner was out. Another key defensive lineman was out, Danico Autry. And Jonathan Taylor was out with COVID. I don't know. I don't think you can. I'm not downgrading the Colts. What I'm trying to say is I'm not downgrading the Colts that much off that loss. Meanwhile, the Texans haven't been a good team all year, and they just lost their best offensive weapon with Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller. Will Fuller got popped for PEDs, having a career year, and then it turns out he was cheating. So that's not a surprise. So that's definitely going to hurt the Texans. And then DeForest Buckner on the Colts was out last week. He's their stud defensive tackle. They traded for him in the offseason from the 49ers. Absolute monster. He's been activated off the COVID list. I'm expecting him to play. So you're getting Buckner back. You're playing a worse team. Will Fuller is out, totally handicapping that Texans offense. Can Deshaun Watson play electric and still do well in this game? Sure, but I am definitely going to take the Colts minus 3.5. I didn't say that before. Colts minus 3.5 at Texans. I'm feeling pretty good about that one. I don't think the Texans defense is going to be able to stop them. They're just a better team all around. Next tier 1 bet I got, Raiders at Jets. I'm taking the Raiders minus 8. The Raiders laid an egg this last week. I talked about it earlier, but they're just they're an above average team. I'm not discounting them too much just because they laid an egg last week. And the Jets are trash. The Jets, they burned me twice recently. So last week, I bet Miami, not going to think too much about it, and it paid off. And the 2 weeks prior, though, they covered against the Chargers and they covered against the Patriots. But on the season, they're 3-8 against the spread. So whenever I see, a team that's a good team like the Raiders, that's less than 10 points, the favorite against the Jets, I'll take it. Worse teams have blown out the Jets this year. I look back at the schedule. Much worse teams have blown out the Jets by over 10 points this year. They're 3-8 against the spread this season. They're getting blown out pretty regularly, and I think the Raiders can kind of get back to their basics with Josh Jacobs and Devontae Booker. Just, Josh Jacobs is a little nicked up, but whether he plays or not, they should have a decent running attack. Carr should get his head out of his ass a little bit, and I think they bounce back against this bad Jets team. So I'm going to take the Raiders minus 8, and again, just don't overthink it. It's the Jets. You're going to get paid more often than not betting against them. That's the way it's been this season. Another game I got is Saints at Falcons. Now, I didn't really catch any of Taysom Hill's second start, but my understanding is he struggled a little bit more. And yeah, the Falcons went off against the Raiders this last week, but like I said, they scored 43 points, but 5 of them were on field goals. They only got 3 touchdowns, and the Falcons aren't good, and they're still going to be down Julio. The Falcons won 3 of their last 4, but it was Carolina, and I think Teddy Bridgewater got hurt in that game. Then they played Denver, they've been struggling mightily, and I think I took Denver that game, and they got busted up. And then they beat up on Las Vegas, which I just think is a fluke. And but then the other game, the game that they lost in their last 4, well, that was Taysom Hill and the Saints. And I remember taking the Saints. They would have been at the at Saints. It was a Taysom Hill start, and it was minus 5.5, and they covered. So now Saints are going to Falcons as minus 3-point favorites. So we switch home fields. It's about the same spread, minus 3 points. I don't know. I don't see how the Falcons pull this off again. Their defense sucks. Even with Taysom Hill starting, you still got Kamara. You still got Latavius Murray's been playing all right. You still got enough, Taysom Hill running it himself even, I think against a bad Falcons defense, I don't think Calvin Ridley with kind of a tweaked ankle and Matt Ryan are going to be enough to turn the tide there. So I feel very comfortable taking the Saints minus 3. Especially what happened 2 weeks ago, and the Falcons are not back. Don't let a recent hot streak fool you. All right, what do I got next? So those are my 3 tier 1 bets. I'll probably make a parlay of those, place different wagers on them. Moving on to tier 2 bets. Most of them this year. I think I got a bunch of tier 2s. So first one, Lions at Bears. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this one. I'll take the Lions plus 3. I think these are 2 pretty bad teams, and when that happens, I'll kind of take the team with the points. And, when I get the better quarterback and Matt Stafford and I get the points, I think I'll take it. I don't feel that great about it, though. I mean, I'm kind of wishy-washy. I should probably just avoid it because, the Bears, it's going to be at Soldier Field, outdoors. So that's probably, that's in the Bears' favor. And the Bears have a good defense. If you're looking at all of the units that are going to be on the field for the Lions and the Bears, you got struggling offenses with the way things are, and Lions defense not being particularly good, and then you have probably a good Bears defense. So that's probably the best unit you have there. But still, Matt Stafford is a much better player than Mitch Trubisky, and I get the 3 points. And the Bears offense is so bad that even against the Lions defense, it's like, are they going to be able to move the ball? They've just looked so bad recently. And I'd have to check the health. I should check the health of the Lions cornerbacks. But if Jeff Okudah is healthy, that's gotta make you feel a little bit better. And Bill Musgrave is in charge now for the Lions. He's the offensive coordinator. They fired Matt Patricia. That makes me feel like the offense might be able to open up a little bit more. Stop messing around with like Adrian Peterson. We'll see who ends up running the ball for the offense on the Lions. But I think that they'll be a little bit more dynamic, a little more playing free, nothing to lose after firing the head coach. So we'll see. I'll take the Lions and the points, and we'll see if they can bounce back after firing Matt Patricia, who by all accounts was not particularly popular with the players. Next game, Bengals at Dolphins. So this one's a little tough because Tua is supposed to be a game-time decision. I guess I'm operating as if Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to start for the Dolphins, and that makes me feel better. I think I like the way the offense runs when Fitz is starting and with more opened-up passing. I like that better. So hopefully Fitzpatrick starts. So last week I picked against the Bengals because they don't have Joe Burrow, which obviously is a huge damper on that offense. And they did end up covering against the Giants, but it took two things happened in that game that made that possible. It took a Daniel Jones injury, which I don't know at what point that happened in the game, but I think the Bengals defense was playing all right, but they were playing against the Giants, and Daniel Jones ends up getting hurt. And I think the biggest thing is that there was a punt return touchdown in that game, which you can't count on every week if you're the Bengals. I don't think the special teams unit for the Dolphins is going to let that happen. Punt return, or it was a kick return, I think. But you're not going to get a special teams touchdown every week. So I think they're going to do much worse against a better Dolphins D this week with, solid cornerbacks for the Dolphins. Bengals defense is not very good. Even if Tua's in, Dolphins should be able to run on them, should be able to run up the points, and I don't see how the Bengals are able to score many points with whoever they have going behind their trash O-line. It's not Joe Burrow. They're going to struggle. They don't have a quarterback of that caliber anymore. So I'll take the Dolphins minus 11.5. I probably will avoid that if Tua looks like he's going to be the starter. Right now it's game time decision. I'm assuming Fitz is going to start though, and I feel fine about the Dolphins kind of blowing him out. Rams at Cardinals is my next tier 2. So, this is a tier 2 because the Rams have been inconsistent at times, and the Cardinals have Kyler Murray, and they've been able to win some games this year. But they haven't. I just don't think the Cardinals have quite looked the same for the last couple weeks since Kyler kind of hurt his shoulder, and they end up losing against the Patriots last week. I don't know. I think they've been struggling a bit. I don't think their defense is that good. Meanwhile, the Rams D, I think the Rams are looking for a bounce back game after losing 49ers, another division game. And I just think the Rams defense is really good. You have Aaron Donald running up the middle, and you got wreaking havoc, and you got Jalen Ramsey, covering the best wide receiver. I just have a feeling that the Rams are going to be able to pull this off. It's Rams minus 2.5, and I like Rams minus 2.5 with the Cardinals. I think they're a better team at this stage. I think their defense is really good, and I think they're going to give the Cardinals some trouble. So I'll take the Rams minus 2.5, but I could see if it doesn't go that way. Next tier 2 bet I got is Pats at Chargers. These next two games are both pick'ems. So it's Patriots at Chargers. These teams match up really interestingly. You have The Patriots kind of strong rushing attack. Yet Cam Newton, Damian Harris, James White is getting involved again in the passing game, and the Chargers defense has really been struggling these past couple games. And then on the other side of the ball, you have a pretty decent Patriots defense. Good corners, and then you have Justin Herbert. So you got a weak running attack, and you got Justin Herbert just hucking that pigskin to some pretty good wide receivers in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and he throws a bomb, or Hunter Henry, and he throws a bomb to random no-name wide receivers like every couple games. So I don't know, when it's a pick'em and I can get the Chargers at home with the better quarterback of the two, I think you got to take the Chargers. So I like the Chargers in here. Both these teams have struggled. Pats have actually played better of late. Chargers have struggled in games they shouldn't have struggled on. They lose games they should win. So it's hard to trust the Chargers too much. But in this one, I feel I'd rather cheer for Justin Herbert, and I don't know. I like the Chargers to win this game. Next game, this one is interesting because I understand why people are hesitant, but I think that's gone a little too far. So it's Bills at 49ers, and this opened with Bills favored -3, which makes sense, right? The 49ers they've played good in certain games without all these starters, but they don't have Kittle, they don't have Jimmy Garoppolo, they don't have all these defensive starters on the defensive line. I just don't yes, they're still dangerous because Kyle Shanahan can game plan and is one of the better coaches in the NFL right now. But the Bills are a playoff team. They're at the head of their division. They got a lot to play for. Josh Allen's been having a really good year. Stephon Diggs having a great year. Kind of a two-headed running attack. That's not great. Defense has struggled at times, but I don't know. This opened as -3 Bills, and now it's a pick'em. And I don't think you can look at the Bills and the 49ers. They're playing in Arizona, technically a home game for the 49ers because California's changing their rules. But I just don't know how you look at this game and be like, oh yeah, these are two even teams. Clearly the Bills have been a better team over the course of the season. And with all the injuries stacking up on the 49ers side, you gotta lean Bills. I understand why people are concerned, and that's why it's a tier 2 for me. But if they're going to give you the Bills at 49ers pick'em, you take the Bills, you take the better quarterback, and you just don't talk yourself out of it. Don't flinch, Another game I got, Washington at Steelers is my last tier 2, and we'll get into the avoids. I think the first avoid will be a little surprising. I actually changed it. You'll hear my reasoning here in a sec, but my last tier 2 is Washington at Steelers. Right now the Steelers are -7 point favorites. And Washington I think they're at the head of their division now, or maybe the Giants are, but Washington's played better of late, but they're not good. Don't fool yourself into thinking they're good. They're just probably the best team in a bad division. They have a good defensive line, and that's about it. They got Terry McLaurin and a quarterback who can't really use him. Gibson's been good, but they've been playing bad teams. The Steelers' defense is a whole different animal compared to what they've been playing. The Steelers are 11-0. Washington is 4-7? Nah, 4-8 at this point. I don't even know, but I think there's a chance the Steelers show up and play down to their division, down to the level of their opponent, like they always do. But I think that solid D line of Washington evaporates a little bit when you have the way the Steelers and Big Ben run their offense nowadays. Big Ben's been showing a lot of short passes, a lot of short stuff to Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster and some deeper stuff to Claypool, but they just have elite wide receivers that I know the Washington cornerbacks cannot match up against. And Big Ben's getting the ball out so quick. I think you can kind of negate how good that defensive line is if you can get the ball out of your hands that quick. So I think Steelers offense is going to do what it always does. -7 points against two good defenses. We'll see what happens, but I think the Steelers Washington's going to have a hard time scoring points. The Steelers can get a turnover or two. They're an 11-0 team. They should beat a struggling, shitty Washington team by -7. So we'll take the Steelers in that one. But it's a tier 2 just because Steelers don't always play like they're an 11-0, 12-0 team. Avoids. So this first one I think might surprise some people. I hinted at it earlier when I was talking about Eagles Seahawks, but it's Eagles at Packers. Packers are minus 8.5-point favorites, and something fishy's going on because I don't know. The Eagles have looked so bad, and I look at it. I'm like, my first instinct. I think a lot of people's first instinct is, yeah, take the Packers minus 8.5. But the Seahawks, I think, are probably just as good as the Packers, and they failed to cover the minus 6.5. So you're going to give the Packers 2 extra points at Lambeau, but the Packers actually haven't been playing that well at Lambeau. And listen to this money. So right now, 91% of the money is on the Packers side of the spread. 98% of the money is on the Packers money line. 94% of the money is on the over 48.5. There's something going on. I don't know. I don't like it. It made me really uncomfortable seeing those numbers. The Packers D is not very good. Miles Sanders still plays for the Eagles. Wentz has definitely been struggling, but he's got some more weapons, and he's got Dallas Goedert has played pretty well, statistically at least. I don't know. I just don't think the Packers D is all that good, and the Eagles defense can be good. I mean, you got Devontae Adams, but I don't know if Aaron Jones is going to be that effective on the ground against the Eagles. I don't know. I just decided that 8.5 points is a lot. I don't want to be cheering for the Packers. There's something weird. The public we're way too heavy on one side of it. I'm just not going to touch it. I don't know. I'm not going to touch it. Take with it what you will. Call me superstitious, but something weird's going on, and 8.5 is a lot of points, and a lot of things can go wrong. Who knows? Maybe another Hail Mary happens. I don't know. I don't like it. Another game. There's kind of a trend here. I think 3 of my 4 avoids here are 10 points plus. So I do get scared of those double-digit spreads. Next game I got is Jags at Vikings. So I think I see the argument clearly for the Vikings here. And that's the way I was originally leaning, was Vikings minus the 10. Jaguars are a bad team. They got, amount of wins you can count on one hand. Vikings have really been looking better lately. They're going to get Adam Thielen back. So you got Kirk Cousins, who's been playing out of his mind. You got Dalvin Cook, who's the best running back in the NFL right now. And they should be able to, just do whatever they want against a bad Jags defense. Jags offense is going to be starting Mike Glennon again. Can't have a ton of, they're down DJ Chark still, I believe. But I don't know. The Vikings, yeah, they struggled. They only won by 1 point against Carolina last week, but the Vikings were trying to lose that game. They had 2, if it wasn't for those 2 fumble touchdowns the Vikings gave up, and the punt fumble of Chad Beebe right on the goal line, they gifted the Panthers 17 points. So, they would have dominated that game if it wasn't for the Vikings consistently shooting themselves in the foot. They dominated Carolina aside from that. So, a much better win last week than meets the eye if you just focus on how the offense performed and the way the defense played, other than those turnovers. But the Vikings are just a team that likes to choke. It's plus 10 points, and the Vikings defense is really just not that good. I can see the Jags, especially running the ball with James Robinson. I can see the Jags being able to move the ball a little bit. If the Vikings make a mistake or two, the Jaguars could be in this game enough to where 10 points, they can cover that with some fluky garbage time stuff at the end. So, I don't know. I think smart money, it makes sense to take the Vikings. I think the argument to take the Vikings minus 10 is a better argument with the way they've been playing and the way they have no wiggle room if they want to try to make a push for the playoffs. But I don't know. I'm too scared. I'm a Vikings fan. I'm too scared to take it. I just feel like this is the kind of game they choke, and I don't want to poison it by trying to throw money on either side. Another game I'm avoiding is Broncos at Chiefs. I don't know. Chiefs are minus 14.5-point favorites. 2 scores. Broncos, I think, are getting some of their quarterbacks back because Drew Lock was just a close contact, so I'm expecting him back. And I don't know. The Chiefs should win by minus 14, but a lot can happen. Chiefs still can't run the ball. Last week they started off dominating. They let the other team back into it. With Drew Lock, if you give the fourth quarter to Drew Lock and say just go, he's been able to put up points. So I'm just going to avoid it. I'm too afraid of a minus 14 spread. This is still the NFL. And that's a division game. So if you think the Broncos are just going to go into Arrowhead and roll over, it might happen, but that's not the way it usually happens. Giants at Seahawks. So right now the Seahawks are minus 10.5. I'm somewhat sympathetic to that. You're going to have Colt McCoy running out for the Giants. Seahawks, you got Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf. I think Chris Carson's is back. Tyler Lockett's still around. Easy to forget, but he's still around. So I don't know. I can see it, but minus 10.5. Do I really want to mess around with that? All it takes is a couple mistakes for the Seahawks or like a special teams touchdown or something. I don't know. Minus 10 points is a lot. I'm not that interested in it. Almost done. Last couple games, we got Browns at Titans. So this one I'm waffling a lot on. So you have Browns, Titans, both, you have Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, and you got, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So these are two of the best running attacks in football right now. Two defenses that have been struggling. But the Titans have A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill, and I think that's a significant, points in their favor. So I like the Titans to win this game. But the spread is minus 5.5. And I don't think the Browns are that bad. They're in a wild card. They're sitting in a wild card spot right now. So I'd like the Titans to win it, but I think the Browns will be competitive. Baker doesn't give me a lot of faith for them to win the game. And they don't have, Jarvis Landry is played all right last week, but he's not probably not, I don't know. He's just not that great. He's not A.J. Brown great. So I don't know. I like the Titans to win, but do you like them to win by more than 5.5? I mean, it can happen. They've blown out a couple teams, but also the Titans are a team that likes to win close, likes to wait till the end and then just win by 3 points. So if I had to put money on this game, I think I would take the Browns plus 5.5 and go for the Browns to cover, because I just feel like of all the scenarios, that's the most realistic to me, is that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is able to make some things happen, and it's not impossible for the Browns to just win this game, just with that solid running attack. If Nick Chubb breaks off a game and they're able to contain Derrick Henry even just a little bit. So I might talk myself into placing a small bet on Browns plus 5.5, but I have no confidence in either side, just with the way these teams are. And then off the board right now is Cowboys at Ravens. And I guess we'll have to see. I think Lamar tested positive, so who knows if he'll be back yet. He might be out another week. I would take the Ravens if the spread's all right, just because the Cowboys are that bad. But probably, it's off the board right now. So what more can you say? Long one. Starting to lose my voice. Anyway, thanks for sticking with it. One thing I want to say is just throw your thoughts down in the comments. I want to be able to interact. I'm a small, I get like 20 views. I'll see your comment. I'll respond. So throw down reasoning, what you like, what you didn't. This whole thing is about, I want to, talk to people about my bets, and my friends don't care that much. So I'm going to start throwing out, podcasts. So interact with me a little bit. I'd appreciate it in the comments. And check out my Twitter at Fade the Favorite, or Favorite Fade on Twitter. Favorite Fade. All right, good luck.